So how do we actually manage our training intensity during our cardiovascular sessions? Well, there's a couple of ways that we can do this. First one being the RPE scale, second one being heart rate zones. So the first one then, RPE scale, is basically what we're going to be using throughout these programs. The reason why we're using the RPE scale over the heart rate zones is because it's flipping easy to implement. It doesn't require any testing and it's super simple. So for your RPE scale, from a scale of 1 to 10, how intense does it feel? You'll be given an intensity to work towards. So a scale of 1 would be super easy. That would be like your recovery runs, mega easy. And 10 would be your high intensity interval training. So let's just take a high intensity interval training session, for example. What we might do is try and aim to work at an RPE of 9 to 10, okay, being literally max effort, 10 being the hardest you can move, the fastest you can move, the most intense it can feel. Okay, we might be doing that for a period of time or even distance. So it could be, let's just say, RPE of 9 to 10 on an assault bike, for example, for 30 seconds. And then we'd have a long period of time where we completely rest, or we just keep spinning at maybe an RPE of 2 or 3 to recover. And that's how we can implement the RPE scale for high intensity. Obviously for a slow, easy, low intensity, long duration run, that might be a 3 or a 4, and just holding a RPE of a 3 or a 4 throughout the entire session. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to chuck some tables in to the resources so you can actually have a look at these as well and just kind of gauge how that would feel and how that would look out on the ground when you're doing the training. And obviously the second element is the heart rate zones. So there's a few ways of doing this. One of them isn't so accurate, which is basically working out what your maximum heart rate is, and this can be based on a simple calculation from your age, or we could base it on certain testing, and we'll go into this in more detail in other videos, but essentially it's a little bit more tricky to actually get right and to nail down, so that's why we use the RPE scale. But training to heart rate zones is more accurate if you can nail things down properly and do the tests to a good standard and actually get the right numbers, and that will give you a heart rate zone to actually work in. So that could be, let's just say 120 to 140 beats per minute would be a certain zone, and that's what you would want to hold throughout an activity, for example. But like I say, we'll go into heart rate zones in a little bit more detail in other videos.